All right, we're live. Hey everyone, this is Kongregate Live. We are here today with Emerald City Games. We're here with Kevin and Kris, who are two of the members of the Emerald City Games team. They're here today to talk about Lionheart Tactics and what it's like making games, and if you're a game developer thinking about getting into games, how do you get into games, and basically everything in between. Come join us. We're on Kongregate.com, and we have a live chat stream where you can ask all sorts of questions. We'd love to hear from you. And I think you guys are giving away prizes for Lionheart Tactics for people who ask really good questions, right?
Yeah, we got lots of prizes. Anybody asks a good question, they might get something. So I'm Kevin from Emerald City Games.
And I'm Kris from Emerald City Games.
Great. And I'm John Cooney. I work at Kongregate. I make games. I do all sorts of stuff around here. But right now I'm doing the live event. So let's just get started. So your guys' big game is Lionheart Tactics, which has been a huge success. It's been on the App Store front page more times than I can remember. It has hundreds of thousands of plays all across the web. It's cross-platform on Kongregate.com and on iOS and I believe Android. Just to get started, tell us a little bit about what Lionheart Tactics is.
Oh, Lionheart Tactics is a mobile and web-based tactics game where you kind of collect heroes and you power them up, and you fight through campaign and dungeons to collect like better gear and upgrade your heroes, and then fight in the arena too. Yeah, we kind of aimed for making like a really cool tactic games that we would want to play that was still like accessible to more casual players.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, as someone who came from playing a lot of Final Fantasy Tactics, jumping into Lionheart Tactics was a very smooth transition. But I also could get how, as someone who would have never played a tactics game, could get directly into Lionheart Tactics. So why did you guys make a tactics game? Like tactics games are so hard to make, and there's so much balancing, and it's such a difficult genre to get into. Like you guys definitely bit off a huge project. So tell us a little bit about how you got into deciding to make Lionheart Tactics and eventually got working on it, and just kind of tell a little bit of the beginning story of where it came from.
Well, a little bit of that is kind of before my time because I'm a little bit of a newer addition to the team. But I know like the team before I came, they all really liked tactics games. And so they kind of went with Lionheart because they really wanted to make a tactics game that they would want to play, and they wanted to just make something that was really, a cool, fun game for them to work on and that they would be proud of showing off to people. And so I think, biting off a lot with the tactics game is just a good way to sort of also differentiate yourself from like a lot of other mobile and web games. You just get to do something that has appeal to core players and casual players, and that's something that not every game on web and mobile can kind of have necessarily.
I think too, like with what Kris said, there's a lot of tactics fans in the office. So, and then just like with the diversity of the characters and the development, and yeah, just it's a lot of fun, like just to bring out new guys and a lot of new maps and everything else. So, yeah, I think the biggest thing is everybody here really enjoys the tactics games, and so having the game that they want to play and that they want to make is just makes it a lot more enjoyable, right? So that's the biggest thing, I think.
Yeah, for me, I know that working on games I'm really passionate about is something that it makes game development so much more fun, and I think in the end just makes a lot better game. And it really shows from working on or playing Lionheart Tactics that it's definitely a labor of love. And that you guys put a lot of personality into the gameplay and the way that it plays out. So even from the beginning, there's a flow of polish that I haven't seen in a lot of mobile games. So it's really awesome. Just kind of going back even further, how did you guys get into game development? How did you know you wanted to be game developers and make games?
Oh, you go first.
Oh, well, I was. I've only been like I'm a community manager, so I've been involved in the industry only for about 2 years now. I'm in my mid-30s. I was a teacher for a long time, and when I was a kid, obviously growing up, you know, I loved my games, and just like everybody always says same cliche kind of answer, but just, you know, and I was looking for something different to do, and something exciting. That the thing with us is, yeah, a lot of web, like our previous games have been web based, but you know, we're starting to get in. We start to move into the mobile space with Lionheart, and a new kind of exciting area for games, and something that I want to be involved in. So that's where I kind of made the jump from my previous career to this. And for Kris?
Well, I mean, I sort of decided when I was like 13, and I'm 20 now, like that I wanted to do games, and I kind of that informed my decisions going through school. So like in high school, I took like programming classes and like different sort of design related classes. And then I went to the Vancouver Film School just 2 years ago now for their game design program. And then this time last year, I graduated and started working at just a couple like little companies around town. And then got an email from, I think you guys got like a hiring manager to like be headhunting people. And then I got brought in for an interview, and that was pretty exciting for me because I love like Fire Emblem. So when I was looking at this, like this had that tactics like feel to it that made me really excited to work on it. And I just love games. And I remember watching like the developer diaries for the Halo games from Bungie a lot, and that was what like kind of cemented wanting to go into a really like, you know, fun and creative industry. So
Sorry, I lost you for a moment. It looks like we just got you back. So is it surreal to you that you're now the people on the webcam talking about how you're getting into games after having watched all of those developer diaries and are now excited about games?
yeah, it's pretty surreal actually. It kind of like hit me when I was driving in today. I was like, wow, it's like I used to like watch. I used to be on the other end of the camera, and now I'm like, or on the other end of the computer, and now I'm sitting in front of the camera talking to people. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Cool. So what were some of the games that really inspired Lionheart Tactics? Like when you guys look at what Lionheart Tactics become, like what would you say is like the games that really inspired its development or continue to inspire its development?
Oh, I think like Kris said, like Fire Emblem, Final Fantasy Tactics, probably, I don't know what else, Tactics Ogre, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things I'm really excited about in Lionheart Tactics is I really like the sets. I really like the artwork. One of my favorite parts that I've played through so far is that I'm literally fighting in a bar and I'm jumping on the counter and taking my turn to do attacks, and that sort of stuff is great. What was your what are some of the creative directions that you chose to take in the game, and how there's like this game oozes with creativity. What are some of the things that inspire you for set design and that sort of thing?
Well, a lot of that is kind of handled by like a bunch of different members of our team. So they bring in a really diverse sort of set of tastes. So like our artists, they kind of will design something and kind of talk about it with our other like higher ups, and like with us the designers, we kind of just try to find something that is in keeping with like sort of the story and the lore of it, but still has a really cool, unique visual appeal to players. Yeah.
I think like what Kris said, it all kind of runs through like the lore. We have, I think it's up to 185 pages now, like the Lionheart, like the Lionheart Bible, the backstory and everything. And we're actually going to start kind of releasing that, like maybe chapter by chapter through our website pretty soon. Everybody can just download it and read it. I also actually, you touched on that some of your favorite maps are the tavern maps. Our next hero that we're releasing is the next hero that we're releasing is the Minstrel, and the Minstrel, he's going to come out with a event called the Taverns of Lionheart. So that's pretty cool. If you like that, you'll really like. I don't know if we have any maps.
Not from that one.
No, we have some other maps. We'll tease them a little bit, but yeah. So
yeah.
There we go.
Cool. So we already have a few questions coming in from our chat. So if you have any questions for the Lionheart devs, we'd love for you to go to Kongregate.com and click on the link to join the live chat, and just feel free to ask a question. And we're not going to get to all the questions, but we're definitely looking at each one to make sure that we try to get as many as we can in. So a user named Tater Toaded asked, what is your favorite tactics game? Maybe excluding Lionheart, of course.
Oh, yeah. Well, my favorite is probably Fire Emblem Rekka no Ken, which was like the first one on the Game Boy Advance. Because I remember like getting that game, and that was like the first tactics game I ever played, and it was just such a different experience from playing like shooters or like hack and slash games. And it was just so cool to like be able to have all these like units and really think about how you're going to use them. And essentially, you're given like basically a puzzle to solve with your different resources of characters, and you get to like power them up and like choose how they progress like into different classes and stuff like that. So it was just really cool for me to be able to play like the original Fire Emblem game, and then now work on Lionheart and be like thinking about all these ideas for classes I had when I was playing Fire Emblem. I can now kind of like start trying to make and put into Lionheart. So it's pretty cool.
Cool. Another user 1337AL is asking, when you guys were designing classes for Lionheart Tactics, did you want to use standard generic classes, or did you want to create more unique classes?
I think a bit of both, right? There's a little bit, if you look through a lot of the classes that are in the game, there are definitely like some kind of like tribute act kind of guys, and then there are a bunch of kind of originals. But I think, yeah, just definitely like a bit of a mix.
Yeah, I think you need both, because like for me, like I love the the guard and the paladin, the kind of like the generic classes are my favorite, because I just think I like the simple classes, but I know a lot of people like, you know, like the Death Priestess and like the more unique characters,
and stuff like that.
So it's good to have, I think, a mix, because then people can kind of choose their own team essentially and kind of how they want to play.
Sure. Yeah, I know personally for me, I always lean towards the ranged classes. So I definitely like the archers and the ranged spellcasters, and that's definitely where I always turn to in tactics games first, because I just want to take people out before they even can swing their sword at me. So that's always been my angle coming from those games. Hop673 is asking, how long has it taken you to make Lionheart Tactics?
So the game's been out now for, well, beta was out probably October 2013, and previous to that, about 2 years. So, I mean, it's been about 4 years, I guess, to get it to the point that it's at right now.
It's pretty cool that you get to keep working on a game for 4 years and still see the community alive and the game still getting upgraded. That's really great.
Yeah, I mean, just touching on that a little bit more, even like with a lot of stuff coming out, we've got a whole new big arena system coming out. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Kris touch on it in a little bit. And but yeah, like you said, it's nice to keep stuff out and you know, just try to keep things fresh and interesting, right? So
yeah, it gives you an opportunity to kind of like build on like the old stuff, like with the new arena system, and like add all kinds of like new features too, like new enemies and new areas and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
Hayato Sakashi asks, if you're a character in your game, what class would you be?
Owl Rider?
Yeah, it's not in the game yet.
No, it's in the game. I would probably want to be I really like the guard, actually, just because I like being able to just like tank for the other members of the team. It's pretty cool.
Me, I'd probably like to be like the sage, probably, just, you know, a bit powerful, like, but still be able to refresh stuff. And yeah, it's cool.
Cool. A user whose name is just slightly explicit asks, what's the inspiration for Rose Elf?
You know,
I'm not entirely sure. I know like our narrative guy kind of came up with the Rose Elves, and I was talking to him a little bit about it, and he kind of wanted to create elves that were like, they're sort of similar to the typical fantasy elves, but had their own kind of like flair and their own unique flavor. And I think that was kind of his main goal when he was creating them, is like to create this like unique take on these sort of classical high fantasy elves.
That was a good question. Let's give that guy what should we give him? Give him a minstrel. Yeah, can you guys grab that? Just Skype that name to us, and we'll get that guy Minstrel when he comes out.
Yeah, sure. I'm putting in the note right now.
Perfect.
Awesome. Congratulations, explicit Kongregate username. You have been awarded a minstrel character. Congrats. Let's do one more question, and then I have a lot of questions for you guys too. Plugin 848Y asks, where do we get those sweet T-shirts?
The Emerald City T-shirts?
Yeah.
I don't know. We could probably send one to you, though. Can't buy them. But yeah, if you want one, we'll send one to you. Probably
right,
somebody in the office.
Sure. Cool. Well, we'll take more questions in a little bit. Feel free to keep writing in your questions. We would love to ask the Lionheart devs exactly what they're thinking and hear some cool facts or some information that you might not get from the game. Maybe they'll let you in on some secrets. So you guys are, Lionheart Tactics is a cross-platform game. So cross-platform games are games that work on different platforms. So Kongregate.com, for example, and iOS, Apple phones, and that sort of thing. Is there some difficulty working on multiple platforms?
I think that Kris probably knows more, but like, I mean, I know that back when things were coming out, and you're just like, when you go from iOS to Android, then, you know, just the number of devices with Android and quality of devices was always an issue for us. And then bring it onto the web and just making sure that accounts linked up, and you know, people losing accounts, or, you know, and getting them back and syncing them up and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a bit of trouble, like not really like a lot of trouble, but yeah, there's always something that you gotta worry about, take care of, like when you're moving from platform to platform, I think. And
yeah, it's just kind of like taking care of, because it is tough to, when you get like a report of a bug from a player and they're on like a very specific Android device, it's hard for us to collect information about how to fix that, because there's so many variables that go into like the processor of the phone and like all that kind of stuff. And definitely like between Android and iOS, there's a lot of differences just even in how you submit the games to them. So that can cause some, like, just a little bit of headache for us when we're trying to figure out how to release the next update, like for all devices simultaneously. So it's definitely is a little bit of a challenge, but I think it's overall good, just because it means we get to have more players playing our game, which is always great. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And I'm definitely one of those people who loves playing on Kongregate.com and playing on the website. And then also when I'm sitting on the train, being able to pick up a game and play some tactics while I'm running. That's a really great thing. Cool. So let me see. The games had a lot of nice positive press. I know that one day reading Penny Arcade, one of the founders of Penny Arcade was even talking about how much he loved that game. Is there any interesting like fan moments or press or something that really like energized you guys and got you excited about working on this project after you released it?
I think like after we released, you know, we've had a few different things like with the community and stuff, and run like different little events and stuff. And like one of the biggest things for us is we ran a Facebook kind of a bit of a contest where people could suggest a hero that they would like to see in the game. And then we basically, we picked our best five, or we picked our best five, and then also had fans voting on those, and just the diversity and like just the detail and the passion that went into the characters that people were bringing out, like, and suggesting was just awesome. And it really just made the whole team just feel like, you know, like people really care about the game, and they really like, you know, they want to have a bit of a say in that. So our last update that we brought out was the Dark Knight. That was our first, that was the winner of the community-based suggestion, community-based heroes. The next update that comes out is going to have the Minstrel. That was second place. And then the update after that is going to have the Blacksmith. There's a
Show off a
couple
little picture of her.
couple pictures of her right there. There's another one. So the gentleman who suggested the blacksmith, he wanted the big beard and like the big burly dude, but yeah, we kind of
went with a different direction.
Kind of went a little bit different on that one. So, but yeah, she'll be really cool. So, yeah, that's probably the biggest moment for me, I think.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting for me is I came in basically right as we were designing and like making all of these community heroes. So the Dark Knight was the first hero that I like took the lead on, like getting into the game. So seeing like the positive feedback from fans about her was pretty cool. Because I think she's one of my favorite units in the game so far, because she's pretty badass. So it's definitely like when I see players like just being happy about the new character, or like Kevin will post like little excerpts from the in-game chat that he sees people and they're like talking about a cool thing. It just definitely gives you a little bit of a spring to your step when you're working on stuff, to know people are enjoying like what you're doing. So
yeah, it's also cool you guys are hanging out in the chat rooms with the fans and the players who are playing the game. I know that the community really loves it when game developers are listening and are excited about what they have to say, and fans having a say in the game is always just really great. So there's the Dark Knight, there's the Minstrel, and then there's the Blacksmith coming from, and these were all fan designed, and these are coming into the game slowly. What are some of the attributes that or special abilities we should expect from these characters?
Well, the Minstrel and the Blacksmith are both going to be sort of like opposites in terms of support characters. So the Minstrel will be mainly about like stopping abilities and being a kind of anti-magic support unit, whereas the Blacksmith is going to be more of an anti-armor, heavy-hitting support unit that buffs attacks and gets everyone in there. For them, like I really want to give them some interesting utility for the new arena when it comes out, and for the new difficulties, the nightmare modes for the dungeons, because you're going to need a little bit of a boost or some debuffs to help deal with the crazy enemies that are in there now. So for them, it's mostly about creating some interesting support roles for characters beyond like the ones we already have in the game. So
cool. What you want to give us a hint or preview into the new arena, which we should expect from that, or are you guys holding on to that?
No, we can talk about like the arena system that we had before, or that we still currently have. A lot of the feedback that we got from players was that you play through and you get your rewards, but once you get into Dragonless, you're floating around. There's not a lot to achieve, or you've kind of achieved the pinnacle. So what we've really tried to do is we're going to go to more of like an arena seasons kind of an idea, where you're playing every month, you're earning rewards. We're going to move it towards where you're earning more of like a currency, and then you can spend them how you like. And also there's going to be, like I'll let Kris touch on a bit more, but like there's going to be like different quests to do. There's going to be like different little sprints during the arena season, where maybe you'll get like double damage from magic, or certain weapons will give you a little bit better stats for that one day, or and a lot of the stuff has just been a progression, and listening to what the players are kind of after, and what everybody kind of wants. So yeah, it's really exciting for us. That's we have like the Minstrel updates coming out, and as soon as that's out, then it's just full go on the arena. That'll be our next update. So we're not sure. We're not exactly sure when we'll get approved and all that kind of stuff out, but we're really hoping to have it out for the fall, for September 1st. Yeah. But yeah, don't quote me on that. So
yeah,
cool. So it sounds like some big features are coming soon, later in a couple months. So that's really exciting for players. And if you are watching this wondering what Lionheart Tactics is, you should go download it on iOS and Android, and also go play it on Kongregate.com, because that's also a great place to play it too. Cool. Let's go back to some questions, because now that someone got a t-shirt, everyone else wants a t-shirt. So, sorry, everyone. Let's see. Actually, we have a question from another game developer, the developer of Run and Run 3, and Run 2, I guess, is wondering, is the mirror an actual sentient mirror, or is it a hive mind made from all the shard units?
Well, the mirror, from what I understand about the lore, it's meant to be a little bit mysterious for the players, so I don't want to give too much away. But there is definitely like a consciousness behind it, and it's definitely not necessarily a hive mind per se. Yeah, that's what I'll say about that.
All right. Are you gonna eventually release all the lore and story on a website, or is that what you said? You're gonna launch it on a website?
Well, I mean, just like through LionheartTactics.com, we'll post up. Yeah, I'll just kind of maybe it'll be more kind of like a blog style. Once a week, we'll update a little bit more, maybe 5 pages or something, and we'll just kind of we'll probably start. We did when we first launched the game, we had a bit of backstory and stuff there, but it's going to be a lot more in depth, I think, and go through the races and the different areas in the game and just the history and stuff like that. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I'm really looking forward to reading that. Let's see. MAIK50 asks, where did you come up with the style of art?
Well, that kind of comes from more of our artists, but I think a big part of that was we wanted to go with an art style that was that would like be good for mobile in terms of the poly count, but would still be aesthetically like pleasing and would give us a lot of ways to customize each individual character. So I think kind of the it's almost like a chibi style, like Japanese sort of feel is just a really good way to do that low quality look and still have the kind of fantasy details that you want in like a tactics game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know for sure that I touched on it before, but I really love the environments in the game. One of the big things that came up for me is that the game is really truly a 3D tactics game. You can sweep around the characters, you can pinch and zoom to see the characters up close. There's a lot of things that went into making it a 3D game over the standard isometric 2D that I've seen for like Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced or War of the Lions and all these other games. Do you want to talk about quickly why you chose to go full 3D over just the standard 2D?
Sure. And one of the big reasons for that, and this is before my talking for people who can't defend themselves, but I think one of the big sort of pulls for that was we were using Unity. And at the time when they were first developing Lionheart, there wasn't a lot of 2D support in Unity. The 2D Unity came out like much more recently. So 3D was a good way to go for Unity. But also the isometric camera for a lot of tactics games sort of limits what you can see and do from an art and environment standpoint. And so doing the moving camera means we can have much more interesting environments because the player can position the camera themselves. And we can do much more sort of like cool effects with the different characters. You can actually circle around them and see all these like interesting details on them, especially for their attack effects and stuff like that.
I think that's like for me, just as a fan of the game, more like from a player standpoint, is just that the zooming in and seeing the different attacks and the skills and stuff from a different angle just really it just brings a lot more life to the game, I think. So
yeah, it gives you more of a feeling of control, I think, and less. It makes it feel less like you're just watching the action happen, like you're really commanding these units, you're kind of getting in there and like giving them orders and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know for a lot of players, it's been a long time since they played the tutorial, but I recently went back and played the tutorial. And so one of the first things that the game does is it teaches you how to zoom in and use the 3D world to really get a feeling of the experience of how the game's going to play out. And that's the thing that blew me away from the beginning was the ability to, the scene opens with you zooming in on a character who's asleep, and it really gives you an idea of what kind of visual power is going to be behind this game. So that's something that I really enjoyed from the very get-go. So we still have more questions coming in. This kind of flows into the art style, so I'll ask about this. So it's from a player named It's a Duck. The question is, how are the maps conceived? Given at a first glance, they look relatively simple on the surface, but they turn out to be quite tactical, depending on what units and skills you're benefiting from. I guess that's
So
a
I
question
think
that maybe they're looking for more.
more asking how the maps come together.
Yeah.
So we basically we'll start with a lot of the backstory, and from there it goes to concept artists, and so they start to bring up stuff. So here, that's a little bit dark, but here, let's see if we can get a lighter one. So these are the Queenswood, which isn't out yet. So you'll get like concepts that, and then start building all the assets, and then the map builder start putting them all together, and and then just obviously all the testing and stuff like that. So,
and you want to look at really how you can kind of like how many units versus like dungeons are usually a little bit smaller because there's only 4 playable units for the player. And you want to look at basically where the units are starting and how you can use elevation to kind of prohibit the player from bringing their units necessarily in the way they want to, and make them sort of think more tactically about how they approach the enemies and get in there. So it really is just a matter of sort of like thinking about the experience you want to make for that level, like where the fighting is going to happen, and how you want to kind of gate the player from just going in there and just kind of like fighting on a flat plane, and make them do some things that are a little more interesting, a little bit more complex or intricate.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, oh, okay.
Sorry, let's give It's a Duck something too. What do you want to give him?
You're the community guy, so they should like you if you stuff.
We'll give It's a Duck 1,000 crowns.
All right, It's a Duck was just awarded 1,000 crowns for asking a really good question. You can ask really good questions too. Join us on Kongregate.com and click the link to join the live event. We have lots of people in there asking questions. We have lots of people recording your questions. So even if we don't get to them immediately, you are still being heard. We won't get to all the questions, but we'll try our best to get to a lot of them. Let's see. We have another question from a player named Kraylon. Besides the artwork, the voiceover is really great. How did that come to be? Do you have any conversation about the voiceover?
Well, we work with an external collaborator. Kind of just we kind of tell them like what we're looking for. We give them some sample of the voice we want for like a movie or a game, and then he kind of does a bit of casting for us and finds like a good voice actor, records just some sort of sample audio that we can pick from, and we kind of pick out the best voice actor, and we start doing some different variations of lines to get the feel we really want. So it's really just like a matter of him being very good at understanding what we want and kind of extrapolating from what we say into like a really strong audio asset.
Yeah, we work with the company's named Power Up Audio, based out in Vancouver here. So shout out to them.
Yeah.
So your studio is based in Vancouver, right?
Yeah, we're just outside of Vancouver in Burnaby.
So do you have any story behind the studio name and how that came to be?
Emerald City is more, just like that kind of fantasy feel, and that's basically where it came from, making games at the end of the Yellow Brick Road. So
yeah, because originally I thought you guys were from Seattle, since Seattle is the Emerald City, but you guys are just north of Seattle, it sounds like. Yep. Cool. Let's see. Alex007 Smith says the Scout death animation has to be nominated for the greatest of all time. How did you come up with animations for each of the characters?
I think it's kind of like the voiceover stuff too, like just whatever fits that fits the kind of personality of the hero that we're working on, and the animators here do they just do some awesome stuff. The Scouts one is pretty cool. I like the Jesters stuff too. So it's all just based on that personality, and when the character, Kris, you want to talk about the character, kind of like how it goes from top to bottom?
Basically, like the way we kind of figured out is we concept out design for a character, and at that point we're kind of deciding what their feel is going to be in terms of their abilities and their kind of like a little bit of their personality. I think that's a great way to kind of start a character, is what their personality is going to be, because that informs when our artists start doing concepts of them, how they dress them, like what kind of colors they use and stuff like that. And then from there we start working on the model and the rig and the animations, and then it's just kind of a collaborative process of getting input from different people around the office and getting down to the core of like what that character's personality is going to be. So it is just like a matter of, we have some very skilled artists working with us to understand what we want to see in pictures and we describe it in words. And that's just very important to have a successful kind of character. I think it just all comes down back to their personality of like, the scout is like, sort of like the smart mouth, fast moving guy. So we just want his animations and his voiceover to reflect that,
Yeah, like I'm not an artist or anything. I just keep my mouth shut. But like the meetings are like, they are ruthless. Like the artists, they really go after, exactly, they have it in their mind, and there's a lot of back and forward, and it takes a long time to get, maps, finalized, or characters finalized, and get that feel that we're looking for, right? So that's basically,
I think it's pretty much it.
pretty much about it.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys have a huge vetting process for really making sure that all the features and new characters coming into the game are really exactly what you want, which is really great. And it sounds like you guys are a small enough team where it's really easy to have that meeting and to sit down and to go over really like the vision for the next few steps of the game.
I think too, that's a big thing. Like for me as like a community manager, I think maybe some places I'd be, talking to the community, and then that would be about it. But here, like I'm in all the meetings. It's a really hands-on feel here, and we all wear a bunch of different hats, just helping out whatever we can do. But especially for the community side of it, is there's so much of our game has evolved from what the community has requested and asked for, whether it be, little things like dungeons, replayable content, harder modes for the dungeons, more events, and all of that stuff is just built up over time. And even like I mentioned, the whole arena system, the campaign modes that are coming, the new campaign modes that are coming, obviously we're going to release the Queenswood and West Vale and stuff like that. So I think from that point, like just everybody collaborating and working together is probably one of the best things about, making or working on the Lionheart team, right? So
and it sounds like that the collaboration process is not just people in the office, it's also really involving those who play and enjoy Lionheart Tactics, and that you guys really rely on the people who play the game to be an important speaker inside the company and how you guys make games.
I think that's really important, though, is listening to what people want, and nobody's there's no idea that's bad, and everybody who plays our game, they have a voice. And like there's a lot of times on community, people will be like, oh, you guys take a lot of flack and stuff, but I think that just really shows how much people actually care about the game, and they want to see kind of their ideas brought forward. And if they have a good idea, it'll go in the game. If like I said, there's no bad ideas, but
it's just a matter of like getting feedback from what people like and what they don't like about the game. And even if like suggestions don't make it in the game in that the way they were imagined, they're a good like starting point for us to design like a new feature or a new way of doing something. So it's just always like great to get feedback from the community.
And just as an aside, if I had like an idea or a cool unit I wanted to build, or if I had like some cool feature that I really wanted to see, what is the best way to get in contact with you guys, or maybe other people in the community?
Yeah, you can. Well, I mean, the biggest thing is you can go on the forums. Kind of have like a forums through our website, the kind of official /forums, whatever. Those are there. The Kongregate forums, you can hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, send us an email, contact@emeraldcitygames.ca. You can usually find me in the chat. There's just any way. We're open to anything. Just send us your emails and stuff. So yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So speaking of talking to the community, we have a lot of questions that are rolling in right now. Blue G, hey Blue G, welcome back to, I think you've been at every live event, which is awesome. Which game elements of Lionheart Tactics have been the most challenging to develop?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think probably like different things, like anytime when you're like matching up stuff. So like the arena system probably was hard.
The new arena
system is going to be tough.
Yeah.
And I think you touched on it earlier, like a lot of the balance issues and stuff.
Yeah.
When you're bringing out new characters, and you know you're working on how are these skills going to relate, and it's easy to just say, okay, this is what this character is going to do, and just throw them in.
Yeah.
But always trying to remember that they are, you know, they got to work with 43 or, you know, soon 44, 45 other heroes in a game, and how are they all going to interact, right?
That's definitely a big challenge with the heroes when we're designing a new one, is basically creating it so that they're powerful enough in their own way, but they don't like negate another hero. Right. And that's really tough to do when you are balancing, like, you know, 43 other characters that have their different roles, and even just trying to come up with something that hasn't been kind of already done is tough too. And it's all a numbers game of balancing, like their usefulness and their power versus, you know, their other characters. And yeah, that's definitely one of the more challenging parts. But the arena system is going to be a good challenge for us to get into the next submission. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Cool. This question rolls in with the previous one. User ZDIGIZ asks, which of the characters was the hardest to develop?
I'm trying to think back. I know the Dark Knight was pretty tough, just because she's got a lot of like cool different tech and stuff. So the Dark Knight would probably be a hard one.
Yeah.
Trying to think back of who else was pretty tough.
Probably like some of the Egg Priestess and people like that.
The Egg Priestess, the summoning units have given us some fits, but yeah, probably those.
Yeah, I think so.
And then SmileMore378 asks, what is the biggest map you guys have developed so far?
The biggest map is probably trying to think back to just the size, but I think for anybody who played the Valentines Event, some of the kind of like the Rose Elf Cathedral type ones, those are pretty big maps. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I can't really think off the top of my head. I just know those ones stick out just because they're big,
some in
right?
the Flame Mancer Dungeon too. They're
those are
big. Very long as well.
Long, creepy, right?
Yeah. And just to call you guys out, since you're on, since we're on the line right now, the Valentine's Event was pretty great. Down to the icon on the App Store changed to be very romantic and pink from the traditional gold logo that you guys have. So that was a lot of fun. I really look forward to more events like that.
Cool.
I just have a general lot of questions regarding what's next for you guys. Do you have any insight for the audience what you guys are working on next? Is it more Lionheart? What's going on for you guys?
Yeah, we probably just not going to say much about that. We do have some stuff on the go, but we really look forward to teasing a bunch of stuff. So but yeah, there's a lot of stuff on the go and quite far on. So yeah, we're excited. Lots of good stuff coming up.
Cool. So you heard it here. You are getting pre-teased. I'm getting teased. So can't wait to see what you guys are working on. But until then, I'm really excited about arenas and more from Lionheart. So I'll see if I have any more questions here.
We'll give this next person a blacksmith when she comes out.
All right. So the next really good question, we will give out a blacksmith when it comes out. One more time, you have about 15 minutes left. So please go to Kongregate.com and click the link for the live event. We are taking your questions and are more than happy to try to give them to the Lionheart developers who are very excited to hear what you guys have to say. And if we don't get to all your questions, feel free to hit them on the channels that they previously talked about, which is Kongregate.com forums, their own forums, or through the contact page. Let's see. Let's see what kind of questions are coming through right now. Or I have some questions as well. I specifically towards people just getting into game development, those who have never made a game before, those who have really great ideas but don't know where to start. Like, where did you guys start, and where do you encourage people to go if they want to learn how to make games?
I would say a big thing is just it's pretty easy to make a game nowadays. There's a lot of resources available. So I mean, if you can download like Unity or UE4, they're both like free engines you can just start playing around with, and just follow some tutorials and play around with their built-in projects you can play around with. They have like some demo scenes that show off kind of what you can do. And for sure, like YouTube is great for tutorials and just how to do like a very simple, like, first game project. And I think just keeping with it, even though it can be really overwhelming at first, and just kind of focusing in on a couple things you want to learn at a time. Never going like, let's make an MMO for my very first game. Like, just kind of be like, I want to make a, not necessarily just a 2D side scroller, but just something that's very simple and achievable that you can kind of learn from, and then just keep building on that.
Cool. Yeah, I know for me it was shooting for the stars. I wanted to make the biggest MMO ever created, and it would be multiplayer with all my friends. And that dream was buried in the ground very, very hard. So yeah, I think that's good advice too, is to just really get your feet wet and jump into game development and be excited about it, and set your expectations to I want to learn versus my final goal is a giant MMO. We have a lot of questions that I just haven't asked yet that are in regards to just, I think they're a little more like fluff questions, but I definitely want to ask them because I think we've asked every developer these questions. How would you survive the zombie apocalypse?
I would probably, it depends on how early I find out about it. If it's like the first zombie is sighted, it's like you just get out as fast as you can. If it's a little bit later than that, it's probably better to just kind of bunker down and wait it out for a while, because you don't want to be one of those people who are in their cars and they get stuck on the freeway and have to get out and, like, run across the bridge and all that kind of stuff. You want to be either already across the bridge or waiting for that to sort of get thinned out a little bit.
And for me, I wouldn't. I'm not embarrassed to admit that I hate scary things. I don't like any zombies. I don't like scary movies. So I would probably just cry and be killed.
That is the saddest version of how you would survive the zombie apocalypse I have ever heard. Cool. So what is your favorite ice cream flavor?
For me, I like chocolate butterscotch.
I'm going to go with Tiger. I think Tiger's good.
What is Tiger?
Tiger is like orange with black licorice in it.
That's not a real thing, is it?
Yeah, it must be a Canadian thing.
I think it's a Canadian thing. Yeah, it's pretty popular up here.
Do you guys in the States, you just have vanilla and chocolate? Is that it, or?
Yeah, we're boring. No, we have all sorts of ice cream flavors. We just we don't have a lot of licorice products in the United States, so that might be where it fell off for us. All right, so I'm going to go back to not ice cream or zombie related questions for a moment. Ragu119 asks, why aren't there any dwarves in Lionheart Tactics?
Because that's a good question. That guy can have or lady, whoever, can have a blacksmith, we said.
Yeah.
But that's because there's no dwarves in the Lionheart world, and that's basically that's the reason.
It's pretty crazy. I didn't even consider that to be an answer. I actually have more questions about the lore of the game. I just rolled right past that question. Let me figure out where it is. Precarious asks, you mentioned earlier creating a sort of lore Bible for the game. Are you hoping to eventually find a way to work it into the backstory?
Well, the whole backstory is based on that Bible. So that Bible was around like when the game was first being developed. So everything that comes out is based on that backstory. So it's like 100, and I think it's up to, it's like 185 pages right now. So, and it continues to grow all the time.
That's really crazy. That's really awesome. You guys are building that story and keeping all the everything surrounding the game consistent to that story.
One of the funnest things that we did is we played it wasn't last Thursday, a couple weeks ago. The guy in the office who wrote the whole story, Angus, he set up a Lionheart-based Dungeons and Dragons night. So there was like 8 of us, and we all played with our character that we had kind of designed, set up, with him telling the story. And it was like, yeah, it was awesome. Like really cool to play in that world. So we'll play a few more times. Maybe we'll post that up on the forums too if anybody wants to start playing Lionheart Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, please post that module as soon as possible. I know just in this office, in the Kongregate office, we have a ton of D&D players who would absolutely love to get their hands on that. So that's amazing. You guys are designing game modules around the games you built. That's pretty awesome. Cool. Let's see. We have more questions here. Let's see. Are you going to have more customization features for players? Asks MOSHEDZ.
That's one thing we're looking at with the arena, is giving you sort of a customizable player card, so you can have like your own kind of icon and your own earn like different like colors and themes for it. That's kind of like our big player customization feature for right now, but it's definitely something we'd look at in the future of adding more, if we can, more player customization for sure. I
know, like from the big thing from the community is a lot of people would love to have like customizable skins for their heroes. And it's something that we're back and forward on in the office all the time. So keep pumping it up. If that's something you want to see, keep asking, and maybe we'll get it in there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Let's see. Braves55 asks, do you guys have any interesting talents or hobbies? Or I guess as a broader question, what do you guys do when you're not making games?
For me, I have 2 kids, so I don't have a lot of time, but I play hockey, I play golf, snowboard, a lot of sports. That's about it. Camping, travel, pretty general stuff, right? So not really a lot of, and yeah, I play games, but when I play a lot of sports, and I play a lot of sports games too, so.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm not making games here, I'm usually like working on just like levels at home. So let's just do some like cool level design stuff in my spare time. And when I'm not making games, I'm playing games, or I also do a little bit of writing in my spare time too. So it's just kind of a lot of creative hobbies. And I used to do a lot of like drawing and sketching, but I haven't been in that for a while. I'm trying to get kind of back into that.
Cool. So when you're not working, you're working, is what you're saying. Wow. All right. Yeah, the punishment for creatives is to always have to work. Let's see, we have more questions. Smiles More 378 asks, will there be playable animals in the future? Animal companions or anything like that?
Like pets and stuff?
That's something we've kind of bounced around a couple times. We also have kind of bounced around the idea of having like mounted units in the game too. And the answer is kind of the same of like, if you really want that in the game, just keep bugging us about it and we'll see what happens. So
cool. And to go back to let's see, Speedway Best, what was your favorite boss to work on?
I don't know. Like, I really like the snowman boss from the Christmas event. He's really cool, but
yeah, I haven't had a chance to work on a boss just yet, but I think that'll probably be a good challenge when we do. I have a couple ideas for things we can do for boss fights, so keep your eyes open for that.
Yeah, going back to holiday events. So from the game development side, or sorry, from the player side, when we see the holiday events, they're on the holiday. How far back do you guys have to start preparing for, let's say, like a Valentine's Day event or a Christmas event, holiday event? Are you months ahead of time? Or are you just a few weeks? Like, what does that usually look like?
Like, we're pretty much now starting to, like, Halloween's being worked on. So that's something we're working on. So it's usually like, it's not even so much like time, but more like updates. So you're usually like 3 updates like before you actually want to submit it. It's already in the works. Like, so, and that's just with everything. Like, obviously, like maps and new areas and stuff like that takes a lot longer because of just putting them together, and there's a lot of volume there. But yeah, with those events, you're basically about 3, probably 3, because you got to think about, you know, how's it all going to go together, the maps, are you going to have heroes involved in it?
You just got to be thinking of how you're going to put it together, and then I think the biggest thing is like you have to know when you're going to submit the game in time to have all the content there for when you run the event. So it does require quite a bit of forethought for us to just plan ahead and be ready for like mitigating any delays in that, because it is tough to make sure they come out on time for the holidays.
Yeah, sure. It's interesting to watch development from the other side, seeing how I'm always really excited about events to come out, but it's always hard to remember how much time it takes as a player for all that hard work to really finally pay off and finally have the event to play, and that's really neat. Cool. So we're just about out of time. If you have any super last minute questions, everyone, feel free to drop them on Kongregate.com and follow the link to the live event. Let's see. A user, Coco Royale, asks, they really enjoy the game and want to share it with their friends. What's the best way to do that?
The best way, I think, is just you know, you can post links on social media to your friends, to the web player. You can also like to our website. If you go on our website, you can play the game. There's a link to play the game, and that'll bring you to another page where you can either go to the web player or download it from the App Store or Google Play. So that would probably be the easiest way to share it with your friends at this time, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this is pretty much all the time we have. So thank you guys so much for joining us for the live event. Kris and Kevin are at Emerald City Games. They've been working on Lionheart Tactics, which has been a really great tactics game that you can find on mobile devices and on Kongregate.com. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you for asking all these wonderful questions. Sorry we couldn't get to all of them, but if you still have those questions, feel free to reach out to the Emerald City Games team, hit up the Kongregate.com forums. We'd love to hear some more of those questions. And thank you guys again for joining us. It's been a lot of fun.
No, thank you. Yeah, and like you said, thanks to all the players who came on and asked questions. And if you have any other questions, just hit us up on our forums or send us an email.
Yeah, for sure.
And just really appreciate all the support that we get from all the players in the community and from everybody at Kongregate. So thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All right, and that's it for Kongregate Live. We hope to see you next time, and you all have a wonderful day.